like to call the regular council meeting of Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022 to order. For approval of agenda, we want to amend and pull 1.1 public hearing. That's going to go in March. And the other one we're going to pull is 8.1, which is the OCP. Councilor Roberts? Motion? Second. Councilor Lehman, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Take approval of the amended agenda. Councilor Roberts?
That the Tuesday, February 22nd, 2020 regular council meeting agenda be approved as amended.
Seconder, Councilor Lehman, all in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes, February 7th, 2022 regular council minutes. Recommendation, Councilor Lehman.
That the Monday, February 7th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Norberry. Any errors or omissions? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising for the minutes? Mayor Bertrand? Oh, just give me just 1 second. 1 second, Keith, sorry.
Try it now.
Go ahead and try again, Keith.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can. Thank you.
Thanks. Item 9.7, the GMHL West Facility Use Agreement. I just noticed in minutes, the motion read that council approves as recommended by staff, and I just wanted to clarify with staff if that's correct. I believe we changed the corporate to corporate rate. So just wondering if that needs correction.
Ms. Thompson? Yep.
Sorry, so you're asking about the second portion, the dressing room 1 fee? That would be, council approves the exclusive use of dressing room and that staff include the fee as recommended by staff. So that was just for the dressing room. So above that, it does say with user rates, commercial facility rates.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is that everything, Your Worship?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else with business arising from the minutes? Staff?
None.
We're going to move on to delegations. RCMP annual report, Sergeant Jaime Moffat to present to council in person on the RCMP annual report. Sergeant Moffat?
Good evening, can I remove my mask?
Yeah, you betcha.
I stand because I generally won't fit in chairs with arms on them. So I just kind of grabbed some stats to show from year 2020 to 2021. And I think everybody has a copy of the stats. They're a little skewed, just given the way our system runs. So I just kind of wanted to run by when you're seeing break and enters or the assaults, they're captured. And when I had them pulled off, my assistant didn't realize like you can separate them for founded and unfounded. So I'm going to go through and break it down, and I will deliver a proper, I just noticed this before I came over. So they seem a little high, but all in all, our call volume for 2021 is up over 2022. But our major offenses are actually on the decline, which is interesting given the COVID restrictions and factors. I think some things would go up. So all in all, it's looking really good. As for our annual performance plan, we're right on track with our priorities that were identified prior to me coming here, which was our engagement with the community, just upping our school visits when possible, just engaging more with the youth and members, being more visible in the public and attending functions. And as you know, we have many members that give a lot of time to the community in terms of coaching and always being at the rink. Another main priority was our enhanced road safety, being speed and impaired driving. Our stats, we had a target of 80, and just keep in mind that our annual year goes from April 1st to March 31st, so we're just in our last quarter. So we had targets set, and right now we are on track to exceed them, which was 80 contacts, whether it be violation ticket, a warning, and impaired, and under the provincial, the immediate roadside prohibitions and things of that nature, just getting the dangerous drivers off the road and making those engagement with the moving public. So we're sitting at 72, and that was as of December 31st, and our next reporting will come out March 31st. And another thing on our annual performance it does affect everybody, was just our inter-office satisfaction members and their work satisfaction. So my coming in, I've actually met with all the members, and we're all on track. Morale's good. We have a new member that just finished his field training, so he's now on the road on his own. So we have full complement right now, which is really good to see. And we're just working on getting our members in on training when we can, as things have been shut down for the last 2 years. So kind of puts a stagnant matter that we're trying to get members going through now, so they can get up to speed on some more training and things of that nature. And our next annual plan, we're going to start planning, so I'd like to meet with you, Your Worship, and council, just to look at any priorities that you guys would like to focus on and address, that we can work collectively to get that laid out and set it for our next year. That's pretty much all I have right now. I know it's short and sweet, but this is really a great place to be. Things are pretty good here, so not much to report on. And I'm just getting obviously up to speed on everything with our detachment and the surrounding areas. So if there's any questions I can try and answer. Or...
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Sergeant Moffat. One thing is, welcome back to the community.
Thank you.
I know I've seen you out and stuff like that, and been able to talk to you there, but formally from council, welcome back to the community. Great to have you here. Stuff. I have a couple questions, and I'll go to Councilman Barry. You already cleared up one of them, and I was just curious if you were full of members and what you are. Is there anybody that's qualified for DARE with your members?
So RCMP doesn't support the DARE program anymore.
Oh.
There are other programs that we're kind of adopting from, I think there's one out of Abbotsford that's just been introduced. So that's definitely on the radar. We do have, I think, one member that is post-DARE trained, but hasn't been updated, and because they're not offering that training. So we're definitely looking at specific training that we can bring into the schools.
Cool. It's great to hear. One other thing I just ask is there anything we can do for the RCMP as council?
I think the members are very, very happy. They enjoy their accesses to the rec center, and they're very happy, so I think things are great.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that that's a pretty much small gift from the taxpayer to Tumber Ridge, but it was brought forward by Councillor Allen. I think it's a great incentive to keep the members, to me, healthy and out in the community, and that's one thing I'll say is you definitely see the members out talking to people. They're at the rink all the time there, and I think it's great to have you guys out there, and especially with COVID, like not just for member-wise, but even residents, right? So, Councilmember.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So I was going to ask about the DARE program, so thank you about that. You mentioned traffic, and I just wanted to say that it's the efforts that the RCMP have put in this year have brought dividends to, I think, the community. I mean, previously, one of the biggest complaints that I remember hearing about was, aside from dogs, was traffic. Speeding in areas, and I haven't heard that much this year. So, good job, and thank you for just being visible. I think definitely helps that. I mean, I know I've been in vehicles of people who are classic heavy-footed, and as soon as they see that vehicle, they slow down. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from the council? Your Worship?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Welcome, Sergeant. Thank you for coming in this evening. I really appreciate it. Really do enjoy the collaboration we have with our membership and council here. And I just wanted to also point out the outstanding job that your members are making within the community. You know, a lot of our groups and sports organizations wouldn't be able to continue without their support and volunteerism. So thank you very much to yourself and your family and all the members as well. And just curious on your end, you know, you've been back for a little bit now, and I'm wondering, you know, it's always a question what council's priorities are every year, but I'm curious on your assessment and what you foresee could become priorities for 2022.
Definitely, I think like road safety is always a big one, especially when we don't have a lot of the peripheral issues going on. And really not affecting Tumbler. Like our biggest problem is a lot of the the mine sites and sites outside of Tumbler that get hit frequently. So we're gonna work. I think a good idea would be like for us to be working on identifying these chronics and monitoring them. They're not from Tumbler, but they're coming into our area. We did have a little bit of an increase in thefts of vehicles, which was really bizarre for Tumbler. We believe it's people traveling back and forth, just opportunities to get a ride, right? Because these vehicles are being found not damaged or burned or anything like that. So just us starting to gather some intel to really track the movement of chronic or prolific offenders from the communities coming in. And really, I think mental health is probably my biggest concern right now, as it's probably everywhere. Our mental health calls, like I know it doesn't reflect, but this is still within our the 2 years of the COVID shutdown, and it's a huge concern. So just working with our health partners and trying to come up with, you know, it's a system that needs a lot of assistance with, like there's, you know, somebody gets admitted to the psych ward for assessment and treatment, and there's not beds available, and we're getting them kicked back out to us. So we're dealing with them multiple times in like short spans of time. So I think definitely figuring out avenues we can take with our health partners to try and find some solutions.
Absolutely, I agree. The capacity for mental health is severely lacking, and you know, there's a lot of resources online, but I've been saying for quite a long while now that they're helpful to some degree, but it's not the same as in-person conversations. So yeah, that would be a really interesting area to focus on collaboratively with the health authority as well. What about, you know, there's the opioid crisis that's really at the forefront still. You know, it's been quite a few years now, and you know, I've been hearing some toxic batches are in the area, and just wondering if you've noticed an increase in the area and how that situation is for Tom.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely there. Our communication with the ambulance and clinic, that's not like, so there's probably so much more because we're not made aware just for the persons calling in for their safety and for them to be able to call in. They know police won't be called, so they will call in to save that life that's in overdose. So I know those numbers are way higher than we're seeing, but they're concerning for what we're seeing already. And actually, that's a good thing. I'll actually maybe on our next report I'll put that on there so we can look at what that is. But generally, like I'm not being made aware of those numbers for that confidential reason, so that trust is there that they are calling for help. But I am obviously aware when, unfortunately, the overdose turns into a sudden death that we're attending and learning this.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not just the overdoses. It's you know, it's certainly constant. The word is attention, I guess. You know, and we can't just go like this anymore. It really needs to be forefront, and and more conversation, more, that part of the community relations and trying to reach out to the community a bit more. I think the visibility is really important, and when you have that opportunity to say hello to one of the members at the community center or wherever it might be, you get that opportunity to really conversation, and it's helpful in many ways, I think, for both sides. So yeah, I look forward to collaborating more on that.
Absolutely, thank you.
No, I'm just glad to have full complement.
All right, just a couple things, Jamie. A couple things came up after the worship was talking. When you talk about mental health and being able to talk or join up with the other health providers, myself and Councillor Lehman sit on the Mayor's Health Task Force. Our meeting will be in March, can't remember the date, March 30th, I believe. Maybe we'll reach out and invite you as a delegation. And Northern Health sits at the table too, so we do talk about the mental health, we talk about a lot of stuff. I think that could be a really good thing to have you there as well and be able to just talk about how sometimes the beds are full, so they're pushed back to our own community. And then again, members are having to go out, and then if there's nowhere to help the individual out, I can imagine the strain on not only your members, but our facility here in Dunbar Ridge, so.
I appreciate, that would be a wonderful.
Okay, so
Thank you.
we'll have staff reach out to Ms. Moffat there. We'll have staff reach out and invite you. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, the mayor has mentioned it just about your members being out in the public. When they had the grand opening of the pump track, there was I believe an acting, or she wasn't acting, or Sergeant from Chatwin
Yes.
came up. She actually got on a mountain bike. Like, it was so full gear. Like, I didn't even get on it without gear on, but she was fully geared up. So I mean, that just shows to me the members in the area, to me the peace and how they're getting involved in the communities, and I think it does. It really, really looks good. I think it helps kids know they can go up to the members or the public. So thanks to your members that are doing it, but also the members you're bringing into our community.
I'll definitely pass on the kudos to those guys. The group we have here right now is stellar. They're great small community guys, and I'm trying to get one to extend, so we'll see how that works out.
Just want to ask, is there anybody leaving soon?
We have one scheduled out, but
Extension?
I think I might have them.
Perfect.
I might have them for another year, so.
That'd be great. All right, well, anything else from council? All right, well, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Thank you, Warchuk.
Our next delegation is the Geopark, Health in the Geopark. Manda, Meggs, and Dr. Charles Helm to provide a follow-up to the Health in the Geopark project. Welcome.
Thank you. We'll be seeing a lot of you guys.
Sure. So thank you for the opportunity, and good day, Your Worship. It's off the screen.
It's up there.
He's up there on the side.
He's very small.
Okay. Really, for me, this is an opportunity to come and say thank you. Back in 2019, I gave a presentation here on the proposed Health in Geoparks project, and you folks very generously committed $10,000 from the District of Tumbler Ridge for this project. And it has taken a bit longer than we had hoped, largely due to COVID, unfortunately, but we're now at a position where we can come and report back to you what we've done with that money and where we hope to be going with this. And if you remember, we had tried through so many avenues to get funding. We'd gone through the health route, and they said, no, there's too much geology here. And we'd gone to the geology funding sources, and they said there's too much health here. And it was because this is so unique and unusual and novel. People couldn't wrap their heads around it, but the District of Tumbler Ridge did. And so that's why we are so grateful. And for me, it boils down to, it's one thing to have a geopark, which we were grateful for, but it's another thing to try and translate that into a healthy community. And that is what this is about, making use of this incredible blessing of a geopark on our doorstep. And what Portugal, a geopark there, is trying to do something along these lines, not the same, but something. Otherwise, this is pretty much it. Even though UNESCO Global Geoparks Network says this is a real important concept for them. They want to see this happen in all geoparks across the world. We're pretty much the only one, with a bit of help from Portugal, that is doing this. And so the combination of bringing health and medical things together with a geopark is globally unique. So what we're actually doing is, Little Tumbler Ridge is being a global leader in this way. We have, what we're going to show you now, what Manda will show you now, is we've taken this to School District 59 Board, we've taken it to TRE, we've taken it to TRSS. We have presented it, as Manda will show you, at the Global Geoparks Network International Conference a few weeks ago. We have shared it with the Canadian Geoparks Network, and the other geoparks in Canada are wanting to take this up for themselves. And once we've done that, we're going to share it again with all the 150, 160 geoparks across the globe. So this is not just doing this for Tumbler Ridge, it's letting what we're doing in Tumbler Ridge act as an inspiration or as a module or whatever you want to call it for the rest of the world. And it's already been trialed, what we're doing here. It's already been trialed by a teacher last year, and the teachers this year are planning on doing it in the schools. And it's not just in the schools, because what we've developed for the school kids can be expanded to being for adults as well. So that's kind of my introduction, but I would, Manda has something to say, and we have a short video to show you as well to explain it further, and then we'd be really happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so when this was first brought to me when I took this job, it was very much already underway. My predecessor, Sarah, had a lot to do with that, and of course Charles, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals really talk about things like food, healthy living, equality, which includes equality in health and access and things like that. So just to echo what Charles said, yeah, it is a priority for us as a geopark, but nobody's doing it, which is kind of unusual. And that's where having someone like Charles, who, I don't know, kind of a Renaissance man, he's a geoscientist, like paleontology, and has the medical background. So we were kind of uniquely positioned to take the lead on this. So I have commitments right now from 3 of the other geoparks in Canada. They want to learn more from us. They want us to put together a workshop to find out how they can adapt this to their communities and to their geoparks. So maybe we should just show the video. So this was a video that Charles and I adapted. We presented it live for the Jeju conference. So it was hosted in South Korea. And the conference was, I think, roughly 1,500 participants. And then when we came back, we decided that we liked the presentation so much that we re-recorded it just so that we had it, and then we used that to present to the schools. Yeah, you betcha. And if this doesn't work, I can send you all the
Hello, my name is Manda Banks, and I'm the Executive Director of the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Global Geopark in British Columbia, Canada. The geopark where I live, work, and play is located on the traditional territory of the Dinosaur, Soto, Sekani, Cree, and Métis people. That is our mayor, Keith Bertrand, standing in front of our welcome sign. So I'm joining you today. This presentation was originally prepared for the Jeju conference in South Korea, which was virtual in 2021. In 2016, though, the Global Geoparks Network conference's theme was Health in Geoparks. And that was really the catalyst for this initiative that we are developing in this geopark. I will introduce to you Dr. Charles Helm, who is a longtime resident and founder of the geopark. He's a retired medical doctor as well. He's currently enrolled for his second PhD in the Department of Geoscience at the Nelson Mandela University in South Africa. He is the driving force behind this project, and he has contributed a great deal to the scientific community, our geopark, and the health and well-being of the people of Tumbler Ridge. Without further ado, I will turn this presentation over to his capable hands.
So good day, it's Charles Helm here. It's a pleasure to be with you and to introduce the Health and Geoparks project. We have 4 basic themes: connect well, move well, eat well, and live well. And these things blend together into an overarching theme for our Geopark, of how to try and be healthy in our Geopark. So in exploring these 4 modules, the questions we ask are, when you're visiting or living in a Geopark, how can we learn to eat well and sustainably? How can we learn to focus on physical activity and healthy lifestyles? How can we learn to connect well with nature? And how can we integrate all this knowledge so that we can live well in a healthy balance with our surroundings? We believe that what we've developed here, details will vary from Geopark to Geopark, but the essential core principles are universal for all Geoparks. So we're thinking that our Health in Geoparks project is exportable to any Geopark in the world. Much of what is in these modules is based on evolutionary biology and therefore evidence-based. We also tap heavily into indigenous knowledge and wisdom. And throughout everything, we are promoting healthy physical activities and encouraging physical fitness. In developing these modules, we had a total of 146 volunteer hours by a huge range of qualified people, from First Nations elders to Northern health experts, physicians, psychologists, pharmacists, elite athletes. UNESCO Global Geoparks had a big role in it as well. Nurses, physios, respiratory therapists, dietitians, archaeologists, geologists, the list goes on. And we've blended all of our skill sets in producing these modules. We've also developed a teacher resource guide called Living Well in Place, Health and Wellness in the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Global Geopark. And obviously we're targeting elementary schools, high schools, local students, regional students, students anywhere really to enjoy this. In this teacher resource guide, we offer 4 geosites within the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Global Geopark, and which we'll review in a minute, but throughout all of it there are the themes of moving well, connecting well, eating well, and living well. Integral to each lesson are movement, physical movement that is, connection to place, awareness of history and culture, awareness of dietary choices and healthy eating, daily choices for being healthy and well, and in essence we address this concept of nature deficit disorder, which increasingly is being regarded as a medical diagnosis and which is very, very pervasive in our society. So the first geosite is the cabin pool Dinosaur tracks. And this is a site down on Flatbed Creek, very close to town, where kids discovered in 2000, kids aged 8 and 11 discovered the Dinosaur trackway just outside of Tumbler Ridge. And so it's very easy for us to take visitors there and make this into an outdoor classroom. Our second geosite is one of the world's great waterfalls, which is about an hour's drive from Tumbler Ridge, called Kinisea Falls. That's how we feel when we go to Kinisea Falls. It's a remarkably inspiring place. The third geosite is the Shipyard Titanic area. So the hikers here are walking towards the prow of the Titanic. It's an area of very beautiful rock formations, splendid rock scenery, interesting geology, again an ideal venue for an outdoor classroom, and it's about 40 minutes drive in summer from Tumbler Ridge. Also part of the Shipyard Titanic area is this formation called the Armada, as in the Spanish Armada, as in shipyards and shipwrecks. A really beautiful set of rock pillars, which is quite unique pretty much in North America. And our fourth and final geosite, which we explore in the teacher resource guide, is Windfall Lake, a beautiful lake, pretty much at tree line in the mountains, surrounded by a whole cirque of mountains. And this is an overnight campsite. We built about 10 tent pads here where people can go and stay overnight. So people can stay overnight at Windfall Lake. They can explore the surrounding area. People get very inspired by this absolute gem of an alpine destination, and it's the one site which we have made suitable for overnight stays. One of the interesting things is that local students and kids helped us in building those tent pads, and we're pretty proud of that history. Anyone coming to Tumbler Ridge can also enjoy the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery. So essentially, Tumbler Ridge is the center of excellence for vertebrate fossils, be they dinosaur tracks or fossil fish, dinosaur bones from mainland BC, even though it's only a community of 2,000 people. So the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery is pretty unique in British Columbia and in Western Canada. That's a view of the gallery on the inside. Here we are showing some visitors from Africa, some of our exhibits and fossils. We also are very proud of the fact that we do our best to incorporate Indigenous culture into everything we do. And here we have traditional smoking of red meat using traditional time-honored recipes. And it also permeates everything we do in our Geopark, is our relationship with our Indigenous friends. Something that's very precious to us is universal access. And so we have acquired a trail rider. We have 100 kilometers of hiking trails that are easily accessible. But the trail rider enables us to take anybody, anywhere. And the example we often use is somebody who is quadriplegic. All that person needs is a porter in the front and a porter in the back. This thing has got a wheel, and these things have been up Kilimanjaro, just for example. So all of our trails are now accessible to everybody. And our motto is think local, act global.
So if you are interested in learning more about this initiative with the Tumbler Ridge Geopark, visit our website at tumblerridgegeopark.com/health. And once again, that was Dr. Charles Helm. There's his email there, and I'm Manda Meggs. That's my email there. You can feel free to reach out to either or both of us if you have any questions about this initiative or want to implement that in your schools. Thank you for having us.
So that was the presentation that we took to the district and to the schools. It's just a nice little, relatively short video. But the meat of what's there, so actually I should mention the address that was written on that slide is actually incorrect. It should be tumblerridgegeopark.ca, not .com. But once you go to that address, this is kind of the meat and potatoes of what we developed, and this is what the bulk of the funds were spent on. So this is a teacher resource guide. It's also great if you're a at-home parent schooling your kids at home, or if you're the kind of person that just likes to supplement their own knowledge. There's lots of great stuff throughout here. There's a whole curriculum guide that explains how this all ties in with the BC curriculum. So that's what it's all based on, and it includes like social studies and science. So there's a really handy chart that lists how each of those applies to different age groups. If you go through, there's lots of pages here that have like QR codes on them, and these lead to more resources online. There's 360-degree videos of like, say the shipyard's Titanic, if you're the kind of person who cannot get out there, or if you're not in the community anymore, or whatever the reason. Or you could do it as a primer before taking students out to these sites. You can have them look at the videos and kind of get an idea of what to expect. So it's a pretty robust guide. I can leave that here for anyone that wants to take a closer look, but it's also available online now. So, and that's for free. We're making that available to any educator that wants it. I'm not sure what else to add.
Just that I think the timing is good. if we are emerging from COVID across the world, people just want to be doing things like this and getting going. Timing could not be better. We even brought a little bit of pandemic type stuff into the modules. So it's very topical and current.
Well, and especially given the presentation that was before us talking about mental health and wellness, this is a great way, nature deficit disorder and the anxiety and the feelings that people are having, the frustration, a lot of that, I think can be made a lot better with a little bit of getting out there and being in nature. If we start with kids, then us adults can follow.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you for supporting
Great
this project.
presentation, and that's, that's not Oprah, that video is pretty impressive, I quite like that. Any questions from council? Councilor Weir.
Just a comment. Thank you for sharing that your resource is available online, because I was going to ask if I could have a copy, and now it's right here, and I can print it off.
You can
And
definitely
share it.
have a copy.
Sorry?
I said you can definitely have a copy, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm involved with a few homeschooling parents, and I'm finding that's an increasing trend in our region recently. So it's really good to try and incorporate them. It's good that we're not leaving them out there. It's exciting, all the things that you're talking about. I know food equality and food access is something that I'm passionate about as well, and it's glad to hear. And I haven't been out to Windfall Lake myself, but I have been there in virtual reality. So.
Very cool.
Most of your stuff that you can see on Google Maps also available virtual reality, so maybe we can connect it that way. So.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I feel like this is something that we can expand on now that we have a seed of this this template here. Not only can we expand it to other geoparks, but we can potentially include other geosites in the future. We can, depending on what the feedback is from our teachers that sort of pilot this for us, we can make some adjustments. So.
Appreciate that. You mentioned two things there. You deal with our two local schools. Did you deal with School District 59 as well?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing I'd like to see us do, and the worship's there, but PRD, maybe somehow, Keith, you can take this to the PRD and even start to show the video, and they can contact our global geopark and get more information. I think that's a great tool. I think the other great part of that tool would be to send it off to the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Education. Whether that's done through yourselves or through our staff. But I think when we always go to the UBCM, they just can't wait, especially the Minister of Tourism, they just can't wait to see the videos. We always took a video down with us and stuff like that. And I think they just couldn't wait for Tumbler Ridge to get in front of them and see what new video was this year. And I think not only is the video highlight what's in our area in the Global Geopark, it's in our surrounding area as a whole, but it's also educational. There's, Councilor already mentions in regards to homeschooling here in the area or the piece, but I mean, there's lots of homeschooling happening elsewhere in the province of British Columbia. And I think that's a huge tool. I mean, one, it gets it out. I mean, children can learn from it, but so can the adults. But there also could be a return of people coming here to actually see the sites in person. I've never been to Windfall Lake. I've seen it tonight. I've seen it before, but the Titanic and stuff like that I've been to. But I think that's important. I mean, maybe there's some way we can assist getting it to the Minister of Tourism, Minister of Education, and try to help get it out elsewhere. But I think that's a huge tool that you guys would come together, whether we help with the $10,000 for the district taxpayers. But I mean, when you see the work that 10 grand paid for, I think it's it's amazing, I think. My personal opinion anyways. Go ahead, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Helm and Manda, for coming in and showing us this presentation. Very well done. Great job once again. Dr. Helm, thank you. I can't thank you enough for your passion for this community. It's definitely contagious. And yeah, great idea, Councilor Kirkcalka, for taking it to PRD. Ms. Maggs, if you could send it to me by email, I can certainly bring it forward as new business on Thursday.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
That's great news, Keith. Appreciate that. I just think, we all see it. Well, I seen it tonight for the first time, but those other individuals getting to see it and be able to use it. I believe it's School District 60,
59.
is it 60? No, but in
59.
Fort St. John.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a school district.
60.
60? Yeah, so that'd be, that's an option where one of those chairs or one of the mayors from that area can take it to their school district as well. Any more questions in regards to the delegation, Councillor Lehman?
Thank you both for coming in. I'm just wondering why, or if you have any idea why, out of all these geoparks, Portugal seems to be the only one that's sort of on board, which to me is kind of a surprise, because there seems to be a trend for people to get involved more in outside recreational activities. Yet none of these other geoparks are picking it up. Do you have any explanation for that?
The 2016 conference, which I attended in Torquay in England, Health in Geoparks was the conference theme, and they were asking for presentations on health in geoparks. I started working with the idea, I gave a presentation there. I was one of 5. There were something like 160 presentations at that conference. On all sorts of other themes, there were 5 geoparks that presented something on health in geoparks. Everybody wants to show off what they've got. They didn't say, I know that UNESCO, Global Geoparks Network, was disappointed in the response. And they actually came to me at the end of that conference and said, can you run with it? So this is directly, what we're doing here is directly sort of top down from UNESCO. They want us to do this. But everybody wants to show nice pictures of what they're doing, but to me, it's just so logical to me. You don't just have the designation; you try and make it work for your people and make them healthy. I mean, I'm in the health profession. It's a no-brainer. But why isn't it happening everywhere? I don't know. But leave it to us. We'll try and make it happen.
Actually, I think part of it is that a lot of geoparks are run by geoscientists, which is to be expected. I know so I've just recently submitted our revalidation documents for our revalidation this year. And one of the things that I noticed there was quite a bit of focus on is having multidisciplinary people involved. So having someone like Charles who has the medical background, I think that's exactly what they're hoping, is that we don't just focus on geosciences anymore. We focus on Indigenous relations, we focus on health. We talk about people and culture and economy and sustainable tourism. It's not just about rocks. Rocks are cool, but there's more to geoparks than just geology. So
I was just going to say, you're talking about rocks, and when we did the dinosaur trackway in, you're looking at the geological formations and you think, well, rocks are boring, but they're actually not. And I sometimes wonder, do we spend enough time explaining to people what that actually means and what happened during those periods? But, you explain to them about the rocks, but then you also have to involve what you're doing is with the health and wellness. And I think that, somehow tie that together so that these people take their blinders off and actually expand their vision and see it for more than what it is.
that's well put.
Just to go back when I talked about the Minister of Tourism, Minister of Education. Do you guys want some help on that?
Sure, I think it would probably mean a lot more coming from you than from us.
Ms. Thompson, how do we make that happen? We can just discuss it as a notice of motion or something later on in the agenda?
We can.
Okay, thank you. So before you go, I know you're here as a delegation in regards to Health and Geopark, but later on we have in our consent agenda in regards to Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society, and that's the TR Trail. I'm just wondering, Dr. Helm, if you'd be willing just to give us an oversight on that as well.
Sure, thank you, Acting Mayor. Back in, it must be 2012, thereabouts, in collaboration with Council, the TR Trail was developed. So one of us came to Council, explained the idea, stitching a whole bunch of existing things together, building a few new ones. But essentially, we constructed this 28-kilometer trail, which encircles 3/4 of Tumbler Ridge. It's a pretty unique feature because it doesn't cross a single road in that 28 Ks, but it goes around 3/4 of the town. And we maintain it, we keep it open. Like last year, there were a few hundred trees down, which we had to take out after some windstorms. But A lot of people use it. Some people just bits and pieces here and there. Others come to town just to walk the entire 28 Ks and say that use it as training for the Emperor's Challenge or whatever else. But one problem we had is where it begins. That is by the gun club where the old dog kennels used to be. And that's sort of where it starts, and then you've got to walk 500 meters next to the highway, and then you've got to cross the highway right where those bad bends are before you go down to flatbed. And we've always just felt, gee, why did we do that? We didn't do it really. It's not safe. It's a safety issue, you know. I have sleepless nights about what if a hiker gets taken down. It was an accident on those bends last summer, and what if there was a hiker there at the time? Those are my feelings. And it just, Linda and I worked this out in the spring of last year. It was just so obvious, but as you are driving out on that road towards those bends, you get that there's a clear cut on the right, and there's a big parking area pull out on the right there. And when they created that clear cut, they actually, well, it's the logging road that went into the clear cut, and that logging road ends, it's about 1 kilometer long, it ends about 50 meters from the TR trail. And so if we could make that the new start of the TR trail, we would take 500 meters, half a kilometer off the total distance, it would become 27.5. But we would have a safe trailhead where you could pull up the highway. Because it's safe and it's a big pullout, we could have interpretive signage, we could even have a sign, 500 meters back on either side on the highway, hiking, icon, TR trail, whatever. These things would all be possible, but there are lots of benefits to me, but the big one is hiker safety. And so Winamis works with Rec Sites and Trails BC. Denise Boy is the contact there. And we took it to her, and she said, I think she's totally behind the idea because it makes perfect sense, but she asked Winamis to go through First Nations, to go through various people, and including coming to the District of Tumbler Ridge just for approval of the concept. The person who's got the lease on the clear cut is delighted this will happen because right now there's sort of kids going and partying in there, which he doesn't want. And from his perspective, from the woodlot, if you've got responsible people walking through there, it'll keep the other folks away. So to us, it's a win-win thing. But the reason why I think it's urgent is the safety issue. And in retrospect, we just didn't do very well with where the old trail started. So I think it's simply coming to council and saying, can you please just consider approving the plans to change it for safety reasons. That's essentially it, but I'd be very happy to take questions.
Is there any questions in regards to that? I know it's later on in our consent agenda under 7.2. Do you need any clarity? I think we're good. Thank you again very much for the Geopark presentation.
Thank you.
Councillor Norbury, did you want me to leave you a copy?
Yes, that'd be great, thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Thank you. Okay, consent agenda 7.1, recommendation. Councilor Norbury.
That all items in the Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022 consent agenda be moved for information. Seconder.
Councilor Lehman, all in favor? Is there anything from council that wants to be brought forward? Councilor Norbury.
7.2, the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society.
Seconder, Councilor Lehman, all in favor? Carried. Go ahead, Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Kakalka. It's great to see the map. It's nice nice that we got a map to see where it started. Dr. Helm presented to us. Makes perfect sense. We started on the same side, so we don't have to cross over. So I'd like to make a motion. Okay.
Councilor Norbury.
That council send a letter of support for the proposed trail change to the TR Trail presented by the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society.
Seconder, Councilor Lehman, discussion? I'll just make one comment. I agree. Having the map and it's detailed, so thanks to staff for doing that. It makes it a lot easier when we can have the map and it's definitely forefront. And then also having Dr. Helm just to kind of explain the idea of it. So yeah, totally support it. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor of the recommendation on the floor? Carried. Is there anything else in the consent agenda that the council looks to bring forward? Oh, Councilor Hammond?
7.8.
Seconder, Councilor Mulberry. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Luna?
I think we just ask for support for funding for the ICU unit in the Dawson Creek Hospital, and I think that's something that's badly needed in this region. Because, I mean, right now, everybody that is in dire straits is shipped off to Prince George or other places.
Okay, for a motion on the floor. Oh, go ahead, your worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to send a letter of support in regards to this, please.
Seconder, Councilor Lehman. Any discussion? Staff's got that. Sorry, I meant to ask her to too. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Is there anything else that council wants to bring forward?
Chair.
Yep, go ahead, your worship.
7.4 for discussion, please.
Seconder, I'll second. All in favor? Carried. Go ahead, your worship.
I'd like to make a motion for send a letter of support.
Seconder, Councilor Lehman. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Is there anything else from the, your worship?
7.5 for discussion, please.
Seconder, Councilor Mulberry. All in favor? Your worship?
Thank you. I just wanted to point this out, the 2021 annual report for the Resource Municipalities Coalition. I think it's a pretty good summary of what took place last year through the coalition. And for myself, I think it's a really good representation of the value of being a member of the coalition.
Great. Anybody else for discussion? Okay, is there anything else from consent agenda? All right. Almost went in. New business. New business. 9.1 FCM 2022 attendance. A report from the Deputy Director.
Bylaws.
That was removed.
Oh.
We removed it before you approved the agenda tonight, just because it have to have full council.
I missed that.
Oh, my apologies then. Yeah, we removed that one, sorry. 9.1 FCM 2022 attendance, report from the Deputy Director of Corporate Services dated February 22nd, 2022 to provide information and to receive attendance interest on the 2022 FCM conference. Recommendation. Councilor.
For discussion.
Seconder. Councilor Mulberry. All in favor? All right, I guess from staff side, is anybody interested in going to the FCM? Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. Councillor Kirby has expressed interest in attending, and she is away tonight, but she has expressed interest in going.
Okay. Your worship?
Yeah, I think it's important that I attend to push the federal tourism aspect of it, as well as it's a lot closer than the last time. Just one other thing, Deputy Mayor, just looking over the policy, it did state that 3 council members, but it didn't mention anything about staff members. So I'm just wondering if we need to clarify that or if we should relook at that. Curious.
Yeah, so just my understanding of that is staff has their own travel. We don't, my understanding, I can ask Ms. Thompson, but my understanding is if staff, so if the CEO decides that she's gonna attend the UBCM, the FCM, or the NCLGA because of stuff that's going on in regards to the CAO, she's able to attend on her own. But we'll get clarity, but I'm positive that's how it works. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So we do have a separate travel and education and conference policy for staff.
So you don't need any approval from council to attend if staff wanted to attend?
No.
Does that answer your worship? Okay, so for now we have 2 people possibly. Is there a deadline for staff in regards to the FCN that you would have to have your name in?
Thank you. The sooner the better. The 17th of February is when registration opened, but in order to book hotel rooms and flights, the sooner that we know, the better.
So right now we have 2 people willing to participate, Mayor Bertrand and Councillor Kirby. I guess if there's anybody else from council, they can contact staff. We do not, because we have a policy, we do not need a motion to approve at this time 2 people that want to attend.
Correct.
Any more discussion on that? Okay. 9.2, EPCM grant application, Community Emergency Preparedness Fund. A report from the Director of Protective Services dated February 22nd, 2022 to seek council support in administration's application to the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund for enhancements to this EOC situational awareness abilities. Recommendation. Councilor Milburn.
The council supports administration's applications to the UBCM Community Emergency Preparedness Fund for the proposed activities and affirms its willingness to provide overall grant management should the application be successful.
Second. Councilor Lehman. Discussion. Did you have your hand up, Keith? Okay, sorry, I thought I seen it. Okay, all in favor? Carried. 9.3, NDIT Regional Connectivity Plan Funding Grant. Report from Director of Economic Development and Tourism dated February 22nd, 2022 to request approval to apply for the NDIT Regional Connectivity Plan Funding Grant. Recommendation. Councilor Milburn.
That staff submit an application to the NDIT Regional Connectivity Plan Funding Grant for a funding portion of $15,000, total required $21,000, to develop regional connectivity infrastructure plan, and that council approves the balance of the funding required totaling $6,000.
Seconder. Councilor Lehman. Discussion. Your worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just curious, question. It says regional connectivity infrastructure, and I'm just wondering if it's kind of a typo. Is it misleading? Are we looking to identify infrastructure within our community district, or is this more of a Peace River Regional District initiative? I am assuming it's more so for our infrastructure in our community. The Peace River Regional District does have a connectivity working group put together, so if there is aspirations to look regionally, we can work through them. But I'm just question to staff, is this for our infrastructure within our community?
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. It is for the infrastructure within our community and to look at redundant line and which way it would come. It would be the next stage in the process that we are currently working on with broadband.
Councilor Lehman.
Yeah, I was just going to, this was one of the things we had brought up in strategic planning, which is supposedly high on our priority. I think we need to keep pushing to get our wireless and our internet services, broadband, improved so that it's actually up to snuff, because it's way below where it should be, I think.
My only question would be back to staff, and is this being added to our 2022 budget? Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. We currently had an amount, we do have an amount in our capital budget even without the grant. So this would relieve some of our pressure on special projects to get the grant, but we do have an amount that will be requesting council's approval for funding to still go ahead with it, but it's just an opportunity for a grant.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 0.4. Peace River Regional District funding of the Geopark and the museum. A report from the Director of Corporate Services dated February 22nd, 2022, to inform Council of Peace River Regional District's process of consideration of funding for the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Global Geopark and the Tumbler Ridge Museum. The recommendation. Just give me 1 second. Can I make a motion that we just, I'd like to put a motion on the floor for discussion first. Is that seconder? Councillor Lehman. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The reason I asked for it to be put on the floor for discussion, just so we get the right motion on the floor. I know I had a talk with Mayor Bertrand after a PRRD meeting in regards to Hockey Canada with Dawson Creek. And we were just talking about the timelines in regards to Hockey Canada. And it seemed like there was 2 different options for this process. So I mentioned to the mayor then that we should try to get it on an agenda to try and show support from council back to the PRRD through our mayor who sits there as a chair, asking for them to expedite our process. So instead of taking a longer process, take the quicker process so that our 2 organizations, if approved and passed by a vote, would see funding in 2023. Because my understanding from Mayor Bertrand is the way the process is going to be working for Hockey Canada, they possibly will not see funding until 2024 from the PRRD. Maybe Keith can just go over it a bit, just so we're clear before we put the motion on the floor. And I want to thank staff too, just in regards to that. I talked to Ms. Thompson. I tried to fill her into what Mayor Bertrand and I had discussed, and then staff had to reach out to Mayor Bertrand just because he had to be away for a bit to try and get the clarity. So, I mean, to me, they got the information down pretty good. So thanks to staff for that. Your Worship?
Absolutely. So last PRD meeting, the Hockey Canada new service function bylaw came for the first 3 readings, and they narrowly passed. And then the approval process, there's 2 options there. There's the alternative approval process or the assent voting process. And because it was a close vote, the directors of the board decided to wait until the election of October 15th to ask for assent voting or referendum, which is very much more expensive. It's about 3 times the price as the alternate approval process. But with the alternate approval process, it'll give us the opportunity to ask the question before October 1st, where everything needs to be sent to the ministry for approval in order to create a new functionable for 2023. So because the directors decided on the assent voting on the Hockey Canada, I'm afraid it could become a trend for these other 2 new functions. So I think this is really important that we send support for the alternate approval process, but with reasoning that these organizations have been without funding for 2 years now, and they really can't afford to continue operating at the same level for another year without PRRD funding. So I think it's an important show of support, but I think we need to dig into a little bit of background for reasoning why.
Yeah, I think I agree to Your Worship. Is there a way we could add that into our recommendation? I totally agree with you when you say without funding for the 2 years. Like maybe we can add that part into the recommendation somewhere, and that's what kind of why I wanted to discuss it first. I think it's unfair. One, we throw a bunch of motions out, and then we try to do the amendments, and then personally, I get lost. So I think if we discuss it, and if we want to try and write it or have staff bring it back, when's the next PRD meeting, Your Worship?
Thursday. I think
This would make Thursday.
it's on Thursday. Sorry, I don't know if you heard that. Instead of the recommendation as presented here, we could probably just get away with a letter of support and then draft the letter. Staff's thoughts on that?
Ms. Thompson?
One moment, please.
letter of support for the functions as well as the alternate approval process.
Ms. Thompson?
Yep, one moment.
Oh, sorry, just give him a second, 1 second, Keith. So instead of requesting, we're thinking maybe just a letter of support?
The reason I mentioned letter of support is because these two items are on the agenda for Thursday, so
Okay.
I'll have to try and add it onto the agenda late.
Okay, gotcha. Just got a question for you, Your Worship. Councilor Norbury has a question for yourself. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you. So I had a question on the AAP process. It says that if less than 10% of the voting public disagrees, just to check my clarity, so that means 10% of all people within the region that are available to vote needs more than 10% to not approve it. It's not like 10% of the votes, correct?
No, the question is asked to the entire Peace River Regional District because it's going to be, or it's proposed to be a full board participation. So if the responses that are received are 10% of the electorate are less than 10% are opposed, then the functions will pass. If more than 10% are opposed, then it needs to go to a full-on referendum.
So just from staff side, Keith, I'm not sure how much you can see from where you're at. I believe they're just trying to rewrite it. Looks like they're going hard there, so.
And just a bit of reference to the Gotta Go project last year was the alternate approval process was used for that, as well as the health services function and the seniors aging in place function last year was all alternate approval process.
Okay, well, hopefully we can letter of support from council, so. Just 1 sec, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. We have one drafted.
Okay.
And we hope we've got it captured the way council requested. The council send a letter of support to the PRD in the creation and funding of the UNESCO Global Geopark and Dinosaur Museum functions.
Can you just reread that again for me, please?
Do I need to project more too?
Well, I'm just like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, Your Worship. Did you not mention about having a letter talk about the alternate approval process as well? Same thing, that we're asking, or we're trying to support the alternate approval process, as well as the letter should support the creation and funding functions of the UNESCO Global Geopark and the Tumbler Ridge Museum.
Yeah, I think we could just add that on to the end possibly. Maybe if we could add the creation of the UNESCO Global Geopark and the Dinosaur Museum functions, as we feel they are very important regional assets, as well as...
Hey, Hannah. They're just trying to write here, so.
Yeah.
I just seen Miss Thompson trying to write as fast as she can there.
Just mentioning at the end of that council very much supports the alternate approval process for these functions.
Okay.
maybe the reasoning because of that at the end is, if assent voting is used, the delay of funding for another year could cripple both organizations.
I'm not asking staff to add this yet, but should we have something worded in that letter, Keith, from your thoughts or that from the PRD side, how we believe these are both regional assets?
We can add a small statement on that, but I've certainly got my speeches prepared for my convincing on Thursday.
Okay, appreciate that. Ms. Thompson?
So I'll read the whole motion.
Okay.
That council send a letter of support to the PRD in the creation and funding of the UNESCO Global Geopark and Dinosaur Museum functions, as council has determined they are regional in nature and council supports the AAP voting process, and that delay in funding may cripple both organizations.
Your worship?
Maybe just another year delay in funding. I did mention that to the directors last meeting that this is critical. The October 1st deadline is critical to create the function for budget of the next year. So some of them weren't aware of that, but I don't believe the Hockey Canada project is as critical securing 2023 funding, but yeah, that is concern.
Okay, appreciate that. And I guess just one question to staff, whether they're trying to fix that a bit. We say the Dinosaur Museum, is it not the Tunbridge Museum? Or is there a reason why we're using those words? Just compared to what's in the agenda. Your worship, go ahead.
Yeah, I can answer that. The bylaw that was created at the PRD is labeled the Dinosaur Museum.
Okay.
So I kind of like that idea because it differentiates itself from other museums in the region. There are a number of other museums that aren't regionally funded, so this is a concern of the directors that if we give to one, we have to give to all. So by differentiating this one as the Dinosaur Museum, I think it certainly stands out.
Okay, appreciate that. So they're just finalizing that up. I know I've reached out to the Dinosaur Museum, and I've talked with the Global Geopark, and one, my bad to them that we had this chat and I forgot that we had added, so I didn't reach out ahead of time to the museum as I sit there as the liaison. But this would, I mean, the PRD needs to know how much this will cripple both organizations. Like the Dinosaur Museum for sure, like she spoke of that today. Quite concerning when I explained why we put it on the agenda due to seeing what happened with the Hockey Canada at Dawson Creek. So this could really affect them if it's pushed off to 2024, just in regards to funding. So that's how important this is to me, to the region. I mean, again, they're both regional assets, not just the District of Tunbridge's assets. They are for sure regional. Regional tourism, the regional education purposes with the schools coming up to not only to the Dinosaur Museum, but also into our Global Geopark. So they're regional. And we really need to make sure the PRD realizes they are both regional assets. Ms. Thompson?
Okay. We wordsmithed another word in there, so I'll read the whole motion again.
Please.
The council send a letter of support to the PRD in the creation and funding of the UNESCO Global Geopark and Dinosaur Museum functions, in that council has determined they are regional in nature and support the AAP voting process. And further that another year of delayed funding will cause financial hardship to both organizations.
Okay, council's thoughts?
Not bad. Not cheap, sir, but it's not bad.
So moved. Your worship, you're good with that? Okay.
Second that.
Yes. So council already moved it. And Mayor Bertrand seconded. Discussion? So one thing I'll say, thanks to staff, we're on the fly here, and when staff gets together and has to do that, thank you. Because, you know, for us to, again, instead of reading motions and trying to change it 15 times probably, if not more tonight, if that would have happened, if we would have put this motion on the floor. So I want to thank staff for being able to do that. Appreciate that, because that would have been a lot longer process. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Schedule of meetings.
Can't make it.
Anything from council? Go ahead, your worship.
We're talking about another strat time workshop. We have 2 dates picked out there. Try and secure those, or have we heard some majority yet?
Back to Ms. Thompson. I understand I've only seen one reply, but Ms. Thompson? Oh, sorry. I haven't got anything else.
Thank you. From the members that we had heard from, the 15th was preferable, but both dates worked for,
Staff.
yeah,
That was the 1st or the 15th?
the 15th was preferable.
But it was the 1st or the 15th.
Correct.
Majority of council is sitting here tonight. Does the 15th work for all of us? Your worship, what works for you? March 15th? Do we need it as a motion?
Good time?
Looking at 5 p.m. Do you need that as a motion?
Yes.
Can I get a motion? Councilor Lehman.
I'd like to make a motion that we have a strategic planning meeting on March 15th at 5 o'clock.
Be a workshop, wouldn't it be not a meeting?
Workshop.
So before we get a second, we'll just change that.
My bad.
Nope, that'll be sorry. Seconder. Councilor Nover. Just have that read back, please.
Deputy Mayor and Council, the motion was that we have a strategic plan workshop on March 15th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, any more under schedule of meetings? Nothing else from staff side? Before notice of motion, I know I asked staff in regards to the delegation earlier tonight, and I'd just like to know when we should, and we can do it in council business, is my understanding? Normally we don't do motions there, I'm just kind of,
Yes.
we're good there? Okay. So notice of motions, any notice of motions? Okay, councilor's business. Ms. Thompson, if maybe staff can just work on something, whether you need a motion to give direction to staff to work with the 2 delegations, Dr. Charles Helm and Manda Maggs, in regards to the Health and Geopark presentation being sent off to the Minister of Tourism, Minister of Education, and if there's anybody else can think of somewhere else we would want to send that. I just think what they did there is phenomenal for $10,000. And I think we can use that not only for their side to get people into the health of the geoparks, but there's more to it than just the geopark at Tumble Ridge, in my opinion. Ms. Thompson looks like she's going to write up a motion. Councilor O'Brien.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I had a few meetings this past bit. First up was I had a meeting with the South Peace Health Services Society, just to inform council what's going on there. The Boltry's house is comprised of two separate buildings. We have the main house, which is going to be Ronald McDonald style house, and we also have a carriage house that was being developed into supportive housing for healthcare professionals. So we're near completion on the carriage house, so like the healthcare professional accommodations. We're going to be finishing that up to begin with, and Northern Health has agreed to lease that to the society. So it's going to be able to generate some ongoing funding for the society. Then the other big information is that the PRRD has upped the granting amount to $100,000 per year for the next 2 years to the society. So hopefully, with all of our funding coming into place and a successful NDIT grant application, we should be looking at the funding we need for Boltry's house. But I mean, I said that 2 years ago, so fingers crossed. But yes, it's great news about the PRRD getting this funding. So along with that, the Society for Children's Needs, we lost our coordinator. So we're going to be putting that society on ice for a little while just because it's been difficult to do events and provide the programming that we usually try to provide because COVID is just making everything too difficult. Buy-ins were low and stuff like that. And then the last thing that we had happen with Mayor Bertrand is that some community forests in the region, led by Duncan McKellar, along with myself and Mayor Bertrand, met with MLA Bernier to talk about the harmonized stumpage rates. And we've impressed upon him to try and speak at the provincial government level to show the proposed dangers of raising community forest stumpage fees. And Mayor Bertrand spoke really well at that meeting and described if we go above the stumpage rates that are given for community forests, we might not be able to operate. So yeah, hopefully positive response from that. That's it.
Just on that, did we not send some letters as well? Previous? Councilor?
We did, but again, it's hitting it from multiple angles, right? Like Mike Bernier has a voice in down in Victoria, so hopefully he'll be able to represent us.
Okay, any more councilor business? Councilor Lehman?
Yeah, I was at a Tumble Ridge Mountain Bike Association meeting, and they're waiting for more information from the ministry, which has been slow in coming, so that they can start on their ground truthing and mapping out their new trails. It's unfortunately been a long process, and a lot of delays, mainly from some of the people at the ministry, which is really a sad situation, because they should be much further ahead than what they are. But it's the government holding things up.
Keith, did you have anything?
Yep, you betcha. I can't get away from not having meetings, that's for sure. So I attended a couple of PRRD meetings, regular board meeting, as well as a special meeting on the budget. The overall budget for the PRRD in 2022 is up by 14%. Overall requisition is also up by 14%. But a lot of that increase is area specific and sub-regional. So it's a big number, but it's not really applies to every community. It's just as a whole organization. Attended a library board meeting. I attended the meeting with the economic meeting, and interesting discussion with Flynn Representative Heather Weave. there was, as we clearly stated, that there was no intention to handcuff or isolate open areas in the backcountry for snowmobiling. So she's very much looking forward to a follow-up meeting with hopefully myself and the snowmobile committee, and try to identify these areas that are isolated and hopefully work on some amendments for next season in regards to legal access trails. So it was a good conversation there, and I'm looking forward to working with her in the future as well as the snowmobile. I think that's all I've got right now.
I actually got to attend the Midget A hockey game in Tunbridge on behalf of the mayor and council. What a great night. I mean, not only did we have lots of residents out, staff joined, Ms. Thompson joined, Councilor Noberry joined, we had a great young lady from town, Single Canada. I think this agreement that staff has come up with and Greater Metro Hockey League reaching out to the District of Tunbridge, I think it's going to be an asset for this community. And the reason I say that, again, all you hear them talk about is local. And talking with the gentleman, I actually met with him the next morning for breakfast, thanks to staff, because we forgot to exchange phone numbers. So staff from the community center were able to get me an email, so we were able to pick the right time. But it's all about the community. They're going to have a naming contest and all that. So there's people there that night already asking how they were to purchase season tickets. So I think it's an asset for a community. I think the game itself was great. I didn't win the 50-50, but if somebody would have bought right behind me, Councilor Noberry would have won, but he didn't buy any. Because the lady that bought right after me won the 50-50, so I should have bought $40 worth, and not 20. But I want to thank Ms. Thompson for joining. We had the contract there that night, so it was signed that night. So again, thanks to staff for working through that. I think it's going to be a huge asset to the district of Tunbridge and the residents. So it gives us something to do when it's chilly out and you want to go support your local team. And my understanding from him, we should see a coach, maybe a general manager, or they will be the same individual sometime May or June. And then they'll start the process of players and stuff like that. And I think there'll be more to hear from their side. I can let them come out with what they're going to be looking for. Yeah, look forward to it. So thanks again to staff. Ms. Thompson, I'm just curious if we've worked out what we need to do.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We have that staff collaborate with the UNESCO Global Geopark to send correspondence and presentation regarding health and geoparks to the Minister of Tourism and Minister of Education.
Okay. From council side, is there anybody else that we maybe should send it to? I would think our MLA, Mike Bernier. I think that'd be a great one to add to the list. I just think what they've done from a $10,000 grant from the district of Tunbridge and what they showed tonight, I think they did an amazing job for 10K. And I think, one, it's a benefit to our community and our area, so the region, because it's a regional asset. So if we can let the PRD know to watch the meeting tonight, because I think you've mentioned the regional assets, lots. But I think when people pick that up, I think not only will they come here to see the regional assets as a whole, but I think children will buy into it. Councilor Noberry mentioned it earlier in regards to homeschooling. Again, another great tool that comes out of our Global Geopark and our partners, Dr. Charles Helms and our First Nations and stuff. I think it was very well done. Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I didn't catch the two ministries. Can you repeat them, please?
That was Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Education, and I've added Mike Bernier, our MLA. Maybe we should add Bob Zimmer?
Yes, good idea. I was thinking about Ministry of Health and Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction.
Yeah, there's three more good ones there. Can count, and it's one, that's the thing when you throw it out again, thanks to staff to put that together, but hopefully it'll get around anyways, and those individuals will share to some of their co-workers or co-ministers. But I think it is a benefit, so if we can just read the list, I think we have the motion. If we can just make sure, if we can just read out the list from staff side, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. So we have the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, Mike Bernier, MLA, and Bob Zimmer, MP.
That sound good, my council? You? Your worship?
First Nations,
Very good, yeah. First Nation Partners?
First Nation Health Authority,
Yeah.
Solo First Nation, Cloud Lake, West Moberly, Kelly Lake.
Cloud Lake, yeah. Treaty 8?
If we're trying to reach out in the education system, they certainly can join as well.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Again, thanks to staff, but the list is getting longer, but it's good to catch all these partners because, I mean, it is, like I said, those are a huge asset.
And a big part of our region too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Did you want to read the list again? I apologize, but again, that's what happens.
So Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. First Nation partners including the First Nation Health Authority, Soto First Nation, West Moberly First Nation, Kelly Lake First Nation, McLeod Lake First Nation, and Treaty 8. Mike Bernier, MLA, Bob Zimmer, MP.
Could the council think of anybody else?
Just a clarification, Treaty 8 Tribal Association.
Thank you. What about from staff side? We've thrown a bunch of names out. Is there anything from staff side that you as a group could think of? Is there somebody we possibly are missing?
Thank you. Ms. Finnegan also suggests to all the tourism groups like Destination BC, Northeast BC Tourism, and all the destination groups as well.
Yeah. Good catch by staff, so thank you. Thank you. I'll put that motion on the floor. If I can get a second there. Mayor Bertrand, discussion? Staff's good? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Council business done. Question and answer period. Any questions, Ms. Thompson?
I have none received via email.
Thank you. Resolution to close meeting. Recommendation of the meeting of the District Thunder Ridge scheduled for February 22nd, 2022. Be closed pursuant to Community Charter Provisions Section 91C, J, and K. C, labor relations or other employee relations. J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. K, negotiation related discussions respecting the proposed provisions of a municipality service that are at the preliminary stages and that in the view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interest in the municipality if they were held in public. Second. Councilor. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. 10-minute recess.
You're done.